Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you how to make the image that you see on my screen right now. It's basically, we're going to use Inkscape to do this, but I'm going to show you how to take an image and place a section of that image into some text. And we're going to basically make an image very similar to the one we have here. So let's get right into this demonstration. We're going to open Inkscape, and I have a canvas here that I'm going to use. And really, to do this, we just need the image, and then we need to write some text. And so to get the image into Inkscape, you just click the File menu and then menu item, and then you come down here and you click Import. And then from your computer, you select the image that you're going to import. And we're going to import this mountain image that I got from pixabay.com. You can find the link to this particular image in the description below this video. But we'll import this mountain image. And when you click that, you're going to get this dialog window that is asking you how you want to embed this image. How do you want to import it? Do you want to embed it or link it? We want to embed it because we want it to be inside the file. And then we want to get the dots per inch from the file. Whatever the file is, that's the DPI that we want to use for the imported image. And then the image rendering mode we want to set to none and just let it automatically determine what rendering mode to use. So when you have those selected, click OK, and it'll bring the image in. So as you see there, we have our image of our mountain, and now we just need our text. And we're going to use the text, the word summit, for our text. And just click the text tool here by clicking on the button that has the A on it. And once you select that, you'll be able to come up here to this toolbar, and you can choose what font you want to use, how big you want the font to be. And you can see that I'm using Impact for the font because it's nice and bold, and the size is 144 points. So when you have all that selected, what text you want to use and what size you want it to be, just click somewhere on the canvas, and you'll get a cursor that blinks. You just type out your word. I'm just going to type out the word summit, and as you can see, it types out the text. Now if I click on my selection tool here, I can come over here and drag this text around. And that's what I want to do. I want to drag the text over to the image, and I'd like the text to be even a little bit bigger than it already is. So in order to do that, I'm just going to drag out one of these arrows by clicking on one of the corner arrows while I'm holding down the control key on my keyboard. So if I hold down control and then I click and drag on this corner arrow, it scales up the text proportionately to how it was originally sized. So you can see that it's basically growing in both directions equally, and that's what we want. Now I'm kind of torn here because the summit of a mountain is its highest point. But if we were just to put the text over the summit, we would have hardly any mountain in our text. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull this down so that we get more of the mountain in the text, and we're just going to put our text there. And don't worry about what color your text is or even what the stroke color is. The stroke color on this is kind of a blue color because I was adjusting it before to make that image that I showed you at the beginning, but I'll show you how to adjust that in a minute. But basically you want to position the text over the image where you want the image to show through. And so that's what we're doing here right now. I think I'm gonna drag this mountain up a little bit so that it's on the canvas, and then I want to drag the text up so that it's, I think that looks good right there. So that's where we want the text, and that's where we want the image. Now, before we actually put the image inside the text, I want to make a copy of this text, because once you put the image in the text, you're not going to be able to see the stroke that's on it, and we want to put a stroke on our text. So we're going to make a copy of this word right now, and to do that, you just up here in your panels, you just make sure that you have the text layer selected, or you can click the word, and then go up here and click edit, and then copy, and then click edit again, and then come down here to paste with the ellipsis behind it, and then move over to in place, and we want to click that because we want to paste that copy in the same place that it is on the other layer. So paste in place. And now if you notice in your layers tab over here on the right, if you click the layers tab, you'll see that we have an image and we have two text layers, and both of those text layers are the same. So you can verify that just by turning off each of these layers. See, if I turn off that layer, I turned off the top layer of the word summit, and then if I turn off the other one, now all the words are gone, and if I turn off the image layer, it will be invisible as well. So we have three layers. We have this top one, which has the text, we have this other one which has the text as well, and then we have the image. What we want to do is we want to move one of these copies of text to its own layer. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer by clicking this button right here. And if you just point to it for a second, it'll tell you add layer. If you click this button, you're going to add another layer, and that's what we want to do. So we're going to click add layer, and now it's going to say, what do you want to call this layer? By default, it'll be called layer, and it'll have a number that is whatever is next in the list. It's calling it layer 2 right now, although you could change this to something else. I'll just put text copy, because that's what it is. It's a copy of the text, and if you hit enter or click add, it will add that layer. So now we have two layers. We have our original layer, which has all of the parts on it, and then we have the text copy layer, which we're going to take this text, the copied text, either one of them will work. It doesn't have to be any particular one, but we're just going to drag this text up to that text copy layer. And you can tell when if the green line is under the layer, then it's going to insert it between the two layers that are listed. If it's highlighted with a box, it means it's going to put the one you're dragging into that layer, and that's what we want to do here. We want to put this text into that layer. So now we have two layers. We have two layers with 3 parts between them. We have our layer 1, which is the image and the text, and then we have this text copy layer, which has just one copy of the text on it. Now, ideally what we want is we want this text copy to be below the layer number 1. So I'm just going to drag this layer down below that layer 1, and again you can see the green underline. We don't want it to be highlighted. We don't want it to be surrounded with the box this time. This time we want it to be underlining that other layer because we want to insert it right below. So when you see that green line, let go of your mouse button. And now, well, actually, I missed it. So you can, actually, I'll tell you what, we can do this another way too. Put it on top and we'll just drag layer 1 up to above the text copy layer. Now we have 2 layers and the text copy layer is below layer number 1. Now we're ready for the actual masking, which is what's going to make the image show up in the text. So just to make things easier to see, come down here to your text copy layer or whatever you named yours and just turn off the visibility on it because we don't want it to confuse us by seeing the text afterwards. Then on layer 1, you can do this a few different ways. The easiest way to do this with this particular set of elements that we're working with here is just to click the image and then hold down your shift key and click the text so that both are selected. Now if you look over here in your layers panel, you'll see that all 3 of these are selected. And I'm just going to show you how you can select the same items in another way. If you just click the layer, it will select, actually it doesn't select the whole layer because they're not linked, I guess. So what you could do is click text 1 and then hold down your shift key and click on the image, and that's another way that you can select both items. But at any rate, you want to select both the text and the image. And then the process, the actual process, after you have everything set up like this, it's pretty easy. It's just 3 clicks. You come up here to Object and click Object, and then you come down here to Clip. You don't even have to click it, you just point to it, and then you get this flyout menu that allows you to set the clip. What we're doing is we're clipping the path. We're setting this text as a clipping path. So it's basically going to mask out everything of the image except for what is underneath the text. So when we click this, that's what we get. We get the word summit with the image of the mountain inside of it. Now you'll notice here that some of the text is kind of hard to read because the snow on the mountain kind of blends in with the background, and that's why we made the copy of the text before we did this, because what we want to do is we want to make that copy that's underneath, we want to make it visible. So turn that layer back on by clicking the visibility icon, the eye. It's closed right now, but if you click it, it will open it back up, and you can see now we have, it's easier to see this, like this part of the U, because now there's a border there. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, this color was already set from the settings that I used before I started the video when I created the first image that I showed you. But I'm going to show you how to kind of adjust that so that you can get the stroke color and the width that you want. You do it, it's pretty easy. You just come up here and select, just open up the layer that has that text on it. Now remember, it's the bottom layer, and if we turn off the top layer that has the image inside the text on it, you turn that off and you'll see this is what's underneath, and this is really what we're working with, what we're working on here. By selecting this layer, we're working on this. We want to adjust this stroke on this text, and to do that you just select the text and then you click this second tab in your panels at the right. It's the fill and stroke tab. So now we can, now that we have the text selected and we've opened up our fill and stroke panel, we want to choose, see how this blue line is under the word fill? That means we're working with the fill. If I was to adjust any of these sliders right now, it would change the inside of this text. I'll just show you here real quick. Like, let's say I make it lighter. You'll see the color changes inside. So we're not working with, in fact, I'll just push it up to white so that it doesn't confuse us. It's filled now with white, but we want to work on the stroke. So if we select this tab in the panel, we'll get the stroke, which is this blue color. And you can see the settings are already there for the color of the stroke. Let's just darken it up a little bit by moving the lightness slider down, and we'll make it a nice deep blue. And if you want to add some saturation to that color, you can slide that up as well. So now we have this nice dark blue. But let's say if we go back here to our layers and we turn on the layer on top, that doesn't look too bad, right? It looks pretty good. But let's say we want to see more of a border around that text. Well, you can just go back to your fill and stroke panel, and instead of changing the stroke paint, which adjusts the color, if you come over here to stroke style and you click it, you'll see that we can adjust the width of the stroke. So if I take it down, it'll make it thinner. And if you look at the image, you can see that the stroke is getting thinner and thinner and thinner to where it's even hardly even noticeable. But if you ramp this up and just hold down the plus, see how the stroke just keeps growing and growing and growing. You can make it as thick as you need it to be. I kind of like it at around 2, I believe, is where I had it before. And so you can just mess with these adjustments here until you get a stroke width and color that matches what you're looking for. I guess 3, maybe even 3.5 is probably good. I think I don't know, maybe. Anyway, you get the idea. You just adjust it to your liking, and whatever you find fits best with what you're doing, that's what you can stop at. I'm just going to adjust the color a little bit on this because I don't like how it looks in these places where the two sides meet. It kind of looks, I don't know, it doesn't look crisp there. So I'm just going to lighten that up a little bit where it's not as noticeable. Maybe like that. Now I'm kind of back to where I was before, but anyway, so now that we have our image set to the way we like it, we can go back to the layers, and we want to select both of these layers. Actually, yeah, let's select both of them, and you can do that really easy just by dragging out a rectangle around the whole entire thing. You see how everything is selected up here in the panel? Well, now what I want to do is I want to export this as a PNG file with no background. And to do that, you guessed it, you come over here to your panel, your panels, and this time we're not going for the layers panel. We're not going for the fill and stroke panel. We're going to come over here to this export panel, and we're going to click that. And now we get the panel to set how we want to export this image. Right now it's an SVG file because that's what Inkscape works with, scalable vector graphics. But we're going to export it in a PNG format because we want it to be, we don't want it to have a background color. We want it to be transparent. And to do that, it's pretty simple. You can just click selection up here. So that's what we want to export. We want to export everything that we have selected. And actually, you don't even have to click it up here. You could just check this tick box right down here, export selected only, and it would do it. Next, we want to tell it where we want to export it to. So you do that by clicking this folder, and you'll get this pop-up window. And where you want it to be is, actually you can pick where you want to export it to. I'm going to put it in the same folder that has the image, the mountain image that we used. So I'm just going to go there and go into that image folder, which is has nothing in it except for a PNG file and a JPEG. But we're going to export this not as an SVG. We're going to change this to PNG, and we're going to just call this one Summit, SUMMIT, and we're going to leave it here. If you want to title it, let's see, I'll just call it Mountain Summit. Okay. And then we'll click save, and Inkscape exports the image, puts it in the folder, and then you can save your project file just by clicking save as, and you'll see here it's going to put it in the same location, and it's going to save it as an SVG file, which is the type of files that Inkscape works with. So I'll just make this Summit source because it's the source file for the image that we just exported. And if I click save, then I can close this. And if I want to open it back up, so here's the folder, right? So if I want to open this back up, I can right click it and just open it with Inkscape, and it will open up that file that we just created. So there's our source file. We can export as many of these as we want. But you'll notice here, this is the image that we just made. So if I open this, I can open this with, I can open it with Windows here, and basically we're looking at the file that we just created in this video. So that's how you create an image of text that has a photo embedded in it and using Inkscape. I hope that helps, and thanks for watching.